he's not seen that, should this be continuing.
Yeah, and it's got to be hurting as well, haven't it, every time he gets caught in it? It's got to be like a stabbing pain.
Now, you'd know that better than I would, but if you're hurt with that sort of injury, it's all over. It's all over. It's been stopped. And Steve Smoger, I'm sure, realising that the punches were going in from that right flank and there was no way Senchenko could avoid them. Well, give full credit where credit is due. Malignaggi had a game plan. He said he was going to school Senchenko, and he has delivered. That is a terrific performance from Paulie Malignaggi. He made Senchenko look one-dimensional, outboxed him from word go. Senchenko was never able to impose himself, and the 31-year-old Italian New Yorker, Paulie Malignaggi, is a world champion once more. He's won the WBA welterweight title.
Okay, welcome to Boxing Bants, the home of Irish boxing. Today I have a very special guest. It is someone that we all know. It is a former IBF light welterweight champion and a former welterweight WBA champion, Paulie the Magic Man Malignaggi. Paulie, how are we doing?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Very good. Obviously, you became you had your first title shot when you were fighting Miguel Cotto. You were quite young at that stage, and you're kind of the underdog in that fight. But you showed a lot of heart. But after that, what made you kind of kick on and want to go on and then obviously eventually win the IBF belt for your first world title?
Well, I saw I lost the Cotto fight, but the scorecards were competitive. The fight was competitive. I felt like I even proved to myself that I could come back after a bad start to a fight and really, put myself in a position to win. It was a good back and forth fight where obviously Cotto clearly won it, but it was a fight where I took over the middle rounds, and I felt like people appreciated that and people appreciated the heart. Because I took a bad injury early in the fight when I was knocked down. I broke my orbital bone on my right side, so I had to fight the rest of the fight with that. So not only could I continue fighting the rest of the fight with that injury, but also winning rounds and coming back and bringing myself back into the fight before late. I think I proved to a lot of people, more so I proved to myself, that I could hang at that level, and I wasn't ready to give up at that level yet.
After that fight, you were on the short end of one or two decisions that were obviously politics took a big part in it. So, for instance, the Juan Diaz fight before, when you fought in, you know what I mean. Obviously, the famous interview after the fight when you said boxing's full of shit. Was there ever times where after that fight where you ever slipped into depression, or you came very close to quitting before you won that first world title?
I don't think I was close to quitting. I mean, the Diaz fight happened already after I lost my first world title, so I was already an actual world champion. But I don't think I was ever close to quitting because there was really nothing else I knew how to do, because I didn't have much of an option. I didn't finish school. I didn't even finish high school, So it was either that or go back to the street, So I felt like I would take my chances fighting because it was something I knew how to do, and I felt like I knew how to do it very well, So yeah, it was very frustrating because sometimes I would see fighters that were less to the getting better opportunities because they had a better team, they had signed better contracts, and you begin to realize, once you begin to realize the game, the business is more important than the sport, and your decisions you make business-wise and who you sign with and who you work with become more important than the actual fights you're getting and whatnot, or they actually control what fights you can even get, or how much you can even be paid for them. It was definitely frustrating, but I was like, I have to make the most of this situation, and that's what I continue to try to do.
Do you think that is something that affects boxers in this day and age? You see some boxers who I'm not saying they live the best life, but there's some of them that have they've a nice circle, They live okay. It's not their only option to box. You know what I mean? They're starting to build things, to do other things, and you think that's the one thing that takes away from them and kind of keeps one foot outside the ring, and why those types of people might never be a world champion, or probably won't, compared to your personality, or someone who had no other choice really.
I can only go by the options, the road that I took to the top, and I know that not having a safety net underneath, on this mountaintop without a safety net harness beneath me, where if I fall, I'm going to fall to the end, to my death essentially, because there's nothing I know how to do. There's no backup plan. There was nothing there. I just know that perspective. I don't know what the perspective is of having a secondary option and whatnot, so I can't really tell you. I do know that I didn't feel like I fought as hard once I was older and I had good money and good businesses and whatnot. So if I can tell you from my personal perspective, it's that not having a safety net early on made me drive myself insane and to the wall to the maximum as much as I could to become better, to become meaner, to become a better fighter, to become a more determined fighter and whatnot, But I can't say that's the case for everyone. I think there are guys who do well. Look at Vladimir Klitschko. I mean, he was a college-educated man, and he was still, reigning world champion and very motivated. So I don't know. I think it goes down to the individual and what's in their mind. I can only tell you what I experienced and how it made me feel.
It's very interesting. So, obviously, for someone like yourself who you kind of live and die by the sword in terms of your integrity and your morals, especially in the sport. I remember you telling a story before when you were on your podcast when it used to be called From Brooklyn to the World, and you spoke about a story where you were in Connecticut and you were fighting in Foxwoods, and you were waiting if you were going to get called out, and eventually you didn't. Obviously, the way it is in Foxwoods, for people who don't know, they usually end all fights by midnight. So you were ready to fight, but you still got paid, obviously, but you really wanted to go out and fight because you've been praying all night. And what did the fighter say to you, the guy you were supposed to fight after the fight, or before the fight, should I say, when it was cancelled? What did he come over and say to you?
Before the fight, he wanted to get his gloves taken off, so he made sure that they couldn't change their mind, that they were definitely not fighting. But then he came over, my promoter had told me that we were going to do the fight again in 2 weeks. And the guy comes over and says, "Nah, it's all weed, dude. My drug test is going to be all marijuana. Like, I'm going to fail it, so you can't fight me in 2 weeks." So I let my promoter know. And of course, it goes to show you what kind of workaholics I was signed to. They still made the fight. And then the day before the fight, at the next weigh-in, I was told that he failed his previous drug test 2 weeks before, and he was suspended, and I had no opponent, so I wasn't fighting. I wasn't fighting again. So this goes to the things you deal with when you're in the business of boxing.
I was laughing at it because it was the way you worded it. You said he came over to you and went, "It's good that we're not fighting because I don't know if I'd pass the test." But,
yes. Yeah. I don't think I'm gonna pass. I think I'm gonna pass the test, and he said, "It's all weed, dude. It's all weed." Meaning, by the time we were going to fight 2 weeks later, when my promoter said, "Don't worry, we'll make the fight in 2 weeks," he was basically letting me know, "Don't make the fight with me in 2 weeks because I'm not going to. The urine that they took from me tonight will fail." So of course I let my promoter know, and like I said, goes just to give you an example of what kind of workaholics I was signed to. They still made the fight. And then when the urine results came in, they had to cancel the fight the day before it was going to happen, and I ended up with no fight again.
In terms of it, obviously back then and pretty much for most of your career, what was drug testing like? Was it always just urine on the day? And was there ever? I know near the tail end, obviously, when you're fighting people like Danny Garcia, you start to get random blood testing. But how much of your career until you started to get blood testing? So for how long in your career was it just urine testing?
About 2012, 2013 for me. me. You know, like I know Mayweather started bringing it up in about 2010. I think the doors blew open after the Pacquiao and Miguel Cotto fight. You know, I think if anybody had any brains in their mind, I think that fight really showed who knows what they're watching and who doesn't know what they're watching. You know, and I don't care how many years you've been watching this sport and how many times you've seen fights. If you couldn't figure it out in the Pacquiao Cotto fight, there's something was wrong with the way that fight unfolded. Not the result, but the way it actually happened, the way the result happened. Then I think, you know, you probably would have been wasting your time watching boxing all these years, you know. But from the inside perspective of boxing, the doors kind of blew open in 2009 after that fight, and you know, there was a lot of things being exposed, and the calls for random drug testing all year round, or at least throughout training camp, blood and whatnot, it started to really become more vocal, and little by little things moved in that direction.
All those, as you're saying, is all these calls for random drug testing came forward. I know that Floyd kind of brought forward random drug testing because he was able to fund it and pay it, because obviously, you know, you're talking 40-50 grand for a camp. But who else was instilling these tests? Like, was it the belt governing bodies? Was it promoters, or what was it? Who was it that was instilling?
At the time, no, it was no governing body that was doing anything. You know, I think what we were doing was when we would sign a contract for a fight, you know, we would just both agree to random drug test, you know, and they would take $25,000 out of each purse, and you know, make the random drug testing for the entire camp. You know, if you were making a lot of money, which at the time I was making in the millions per fight, you know, it was fine. You know, but you know, it kind of hurt guys who weren't making as much money, because then they couldn't do it. You know, so. The sport really should be controlled by an overall governing body, or at least something, a governing body that at least controls these kind of things and is funded. But it's very hard. It's very hard. You know, there's too many people with too many different ideas that go in too many different directions, and so there's no organization. Yeah.
So obviously, you're talking about the Pacquiao Cotto fight. Like after that, you called him the Lance Armstrong of boxing, and you talked about how, you know, he kind of wiped Cotto's punches off as if they were spit, and you always talked about how, you know, Pacquiao, you moved up through 8 weight classes and didn't show any wrinkles and things like that, and I think he's obviously a very obvious one. But in terms of like drug testing, how rampant in the sport do you think it is, and how easy do you think it is for guys to manipulate the drug testing?
I think it's very easy. I think the sport is out of control, and I think it's to the point where guys probably should dope if they want to succeed, because most guys are doping, or almost everyone is doping. You know, if there's no control, and when there is control, when in the rare instances that the weak drug testing does catch somebody, they don't give an adequate punishment. So, you know, if it's not, the punishment does not fit the crime, then of course, you know, you're going to only make this worse, because the reward is much more worth the risk if the crime is not punished accordingly. You know, so, you know, if you're going to get a slap on the wrist as a punishment, but your reward is to become twice the fighter you are right now, you know, I think it's pretty obvious. Most guys are pieces of shit, and they're gonna do it. You know, so that means even the guys who aren't pieces of shit, unfortunately, are gonna have to do it too if they want to keep up.
So when you think about, let's just say urine testing, like Victor Conte talked about, obviously Victor Conte who worked with Olympic athletes trying to get them to manipulate their blood and things like that to actually basically beat blood tests. He said the urine test is essentially an IQ test. It's not a drug test. It's basically if you fail it, you're an idiot. He says you don't know what you're talking about. Do you know what I mean?
It's true. He's right.
Yeah.
Right.
So basically, if you think, I don't think a lot of UK and Irish boxers are really aware of it, that the people that they're fighting and the opponents that they're fighting, how easy it is for them to essentially go off things and then just beat the drug test. Do you?
There's you can be on the drugs, and some urine doesn't catch some of them even while you're on it. You know, so
yeah,
you can be on it while you're taking the urine test. You know, there's things that urine, it's very hard to detect in urine. You know.
How many people that you fought actually would you think, obviously I don't want you to name names, but how many people that you fought would you actually think that were taking something?
You know, I can't, if I say anything, people are going to consider you a sore loser, so, you know, you just keep your mouth shut. And I will say that, you know, if in this day and age you don't dope, you're probably stupid. You're probably gonna have to go get a job, you know. So because then when you do out people, especially when they beat you or if you fight them, then you're considered a sore loser. So when it's between being considered a sore loser or the other option is doping and getting away with it and beating the guys that would have beat you otherwise, I think the answer becomes pretty clear. So I was able to kind of dodge a few landmines, and I don't think I dodged them all. But in the end, I think if you survive this career and you still have your faculties intact and you have some money and you live good, that's all you can really ask for.
Do you think that's one of the biggest problems of boxing at the moment in terms of the casual fan? Like, you look at people moving up through weight classes. Let's just say, for instance, Canelo fighting Rocky Fielding, and that just seems like the norm now these days, that a former welterweight can just go up and just fight a super middleweight, and we just think that should be accepted. That instead of people saying, "Oh, Rocky Fielding's going to get knocked out by Canelo," it's like, well, wait a minute, how is a guy that was formerly welterweight able to just jump up and just knock the guy out? Like, and do you think that people are just, as you said before when Amir fought Canelo, you said people see fighters now these days as action figures, and do you think that it's a massive issue in the sport now where boxers aren't getting recognised because they're not flying up through multiple weight classes?
Yeah, of course. Doping affects you even if you're not the guy fighting the dopers. Doping affects you inadvertently as well, because these guys who are doping are getting all the headlines, all the sponsors, all the endorsements, all the TV time, all the interview requests, all the fan recognition. So if you are the guy who's staying clean and you're not, even if you're accomplishing some nice things, you're not accomplishing enough of them, because people want to talk about the guy who's accomplishing a crazy amount of things.
Just on that topic, why do you think Canelo is fighting Rocky Fielding in particular? Like, in terms of politics, why do you think that fight is happening?
Not sure. I think he's testing out the waters at 168 to see what he can do.
So do you think he's just testing out? He's not actually trying to. Would you say he's not doing it to build any recognition in the UK, or he's just seeing how he's going to cope?
It's possible. It's possible. I think anything. I know Canelo's a worldwide star, so I don't know that he needs help building recognition anywhere else. But I think just adding weight classes. We've seen that in the past. Adding weight classes to your resume gets you more credibility in boxing. So they're just as another weight class.
Do you think? How do you think that fight's actually going to go in particular? I don't know how much you've seen of Rocky Fielding, but
I don't know enough about Fielding to know, but I'm curious to see how Canelo handles the bigger weight, and if he is in fact a smaller guy, because it seemed like at middleweight he was starting to become the bigger guy.
Mm-hmm. And the Triple G Canelo fight, what would be your breakdown of that fight? Obviously, who did you have winning? And in terms of how the fight went, who do you think? Would you think it was fairly scored?
No, I don't think it was fairly scored. I thought the fight was better. I thought it was closer, but I don't think Canelo did enough to win the fight. If you would have made it a draw, it would have been. I think you could maximum make it a draw, but I don't think Canelo won that fight. I thought he was outboxed. Even though he came forward and held his ground and fought well in the fight, I didn't think he did enough to win it.
You were making the point, Golovkin. You were saying it with Spencer Fearon. You were talking about how even though he tried to walk Triple G down, his back's never touched the ropes once, which means that he got outboxed. And you basically you were talking about how Canelo, people were talking about Canelo walking him down, but you said that Triple G his back never touched the ropes, which means he was getting outboxed.
Yeah, if your back never touched the ropes, what is that? What is holding your ground doing? If you can't make the guy's back touch the ropes, that means he's coming forward. You're not really putting him in any bad positions,
Exactly. And the point you made about do you think obviously judges are just swayed by the crowd and things like that, whereas obviously people are talking about Canelo throwing eye-catching shots, but you were saying that Golovkin, he throws punches effortlessly, power punches, sorry.
Yeah, and they hurt guys. Effortless shots that hurt guys, so I think you can't judge how hard Canelo's throwing, how hard Golovkin's throwing just by who looks like they're throwing harder, because obviously we've seen Golovkin throws pretty hard, and it throws effortlessly, you know. So everything has to take its due course, and you look at it in its proper perspective.
Okay, so just moving on topics there. So Khan and Brook apparently are in discussion today that Brook has agreed to rehydration testing of only £10 after a 147 weigh-in after they fight. Do you think the fight happens? And do you think if it does happen, who do you think wins?
I don't know. You know, I think based on what they've shown recently, they might both be fading. But from what they've recently formed, I think Kell Brook has more left in the tank than does Khan. But you know, we'll see. We'll see how the making the welterweight limit affects Kell. We'll see how the rehydration clause affects Kell. Interesting.
And do you think you've said in the past about Khan and Brook? You said that Khan doesn't really want the fight. Do you think he will ever take the fight at all?
Possibly if he gets the right amount of control. You know, with the whole welterweight 10-pound clause. You know, whatever else he might want. I don't know. You know, that's something they got to work out. I do feel in my heart and in my mind that Amir Khan knows Kell Brook beats him, and that's why he's always been so difficult making this fight.
So you think that he just unless he gets everything in terms of on the table, obviously he is going to be the A side anyway, but do you think unless he gets every clause in term available, that unless he doesn't get that, he's not going to take the fight?
Yeah, I mean you got to give him every clause he available, and then pray that he still takes it. You know, like I don't know. I don't think that there's any way he doesn't get every clause and then still takes the fight. You know, so I think and then even then you still have to pray that he takes the fight, because I don't think it's a guarantee that he still would. You know, but you know, that's just my opinion of it.
Right. So obviously, Fury versus Wilder is on the 1st of December. Obviously, Wilder is the guy who's more active at the moment, and Fury's only had a couple of fights back. But in terms of how you see the breakdown of the fight and the stylistically, who do you have for that one, or at least could you give a breakdown of how you think the fight's going to go?
It's hard because you don't know what Fury's going to show up. So it's people say, "Oh, Fury just hasn't looked that good, so you favor Wilder." Sure, the smart money favors Wilder, but did you see anything in Fury before he beat Vladimir Klitschko that made you think he was going to beat Vladimir Klitschko? I didn't. You know, I didn't think he looked that impressive before he beat Vladimir Klitschko. Then he dominated Klitschko. So you just don't know with Fury. He's a big, massive guy, and he's difficult to deal with. You know. So, and he's a bit awkward. If he gets himself together, this is a very tough fight. You know, Wilder, we already know he's a very good fighter. Fury, we don't know if he still is a very good fighter. We know he can be. We don't know if he still is. So it's not an easy fight to predict, because you don't know what you're going to get. What version of these guys is going to show up, especially with Fury's case.
Do you think the fight being in America and Los Angeles will have much effect on the fight and the result of the fight? Seeing as obviously Fury beat Klitschko in Germany, but do you think it's going to have any bearing on the fight itself?
What do you mean? If it's going to have any bearing? No, I don't think it's going to have any bearing being in Los Angeles.
In terms of judging or anything like that?
No. I mean, I don't know. I mean, listen. I think as far as the house fighter is concerned, yes, Wilder, because he's with Al Heyman, and Heyman is the house promoter. I think, or TGB Boxing through Heyman is promoting, but I don't know. I'm not sure. You know, I don't think it's one of those cases where you have to worry about Fury being robbed, but not as much as some people do in some other countries. But yeah, I do think Wilder is the face of the American heavyweight division. So a little bit you may have to consider some politics.
So I just have two more questions, two more basic questions sent in from fans. So the first one is your friend Peter talked about on the show on your podcast before about how after you fought Sean Porter, obviously you two years met, and you kind of said, I'm done, I'm not fighting anymore. And he was like, he agreed with you. And then a couple months later, you kind of said, you were hearing rumors that you were going to come back and fight, and he didn't speak to you for a while. What is it what was it that makes you pulls you back into boxing those last couple of times? Obviously now you're at peace with it, but what was it in those moments that made you kind of come back and want to compete?
You just feel like start to lie to yourself and feel like you have more to give. Even you miss the competition, you still feel like you've proven people wrong in the past, so you're going to prove them wrong again. It's not easy, but when you prove people wrong in the past, you think you can just keep doing it.
Of course. So he said there was a lot of cold moments after that for a while, but obviously you ended up winning the EBU European Union title. Yeah. Which I thought you boxed very well that night. That was the very first fight on the AJ White card. I remember that, and then obviously you were commentating on the Joshua fight that night. But the last question is someone said that HBO's gone from boxing. What do you think about that? Do you think that do you think it was coming? Do you think that there were? How did you find their actual product? Because obviously you've got a lot of stick off them in the past where HBO were working with Showtime for the Pacquiao Mayweather fight. You said for years that the fight was going to be competitive. You said you said it was easier than stock market. Easier than putting your money in Apple, and they obviously said to you, they wouldn't put you ringside for the fight, if I'm right in saying that. And then obviously ever since then, if there was any fights and you were even in the corridors, they wouldn't even let you go in. They wouldn't even let you eat any sandwiches from their room. But But do you think? What do you think of their product? And do you think it was time that they did step away from boxing?
I think their product had severely been downgraded. Unfortunately, I thought there's been a slow but steady decline since Lou DiBella left HBO. I thought Lou DiBella in the '90s did a very good job at HBO. I think what you need in that position of running one of those networks is that you need a guy who's obviously a lawyer. They want a lawyer, but you need a lawyer who's a boxing fan. You can't just put a lawyer who's going to become a boxing fan once he's there. Anytime a network has done those things, they don't succeed. They don't do well. There's a reason Steven Espinosa is so great at what he does at Showtime Championship Boxing. At Showtime, because he was a boxing fan and he was a lawyer, but he was already a boxing fan. You know what I'm saying? So he knows what he's talking about. He knows what he's dealing with. Lou DiBella was great at HBO. Why? Because he was a lawyer, but he was already a boxing fan. Other guys since Lou has left weren't boxing fans. They were guys who got hired there who kind of were passive boxing fans, casual boxing fans, who didn't really know the ins and outs of the business, And you can be a lawyer all you want. You got to understand the way this business runs. And, you can learn on the job. But, in terms of making fights and styles and what fights to make and whatnot, it's not that easy. It's not as easy as people think. Because I don't care how educated you are. You have to be educated to this sport, And I think since Lou left, I don't know that they ever had anybody who was of that ilk, that took over at HBO ever since then. They went through different guys, but they weren't that good, And like I said, I give you the example of Steven at Showtime. I think Steven has brought the best boxing product Showtime has ever had in its history, So, and again, it's the same reason.
They got a lot of stick over the last couple of years, HBO, over having an agenda over their fighters. Do you think that really damaged them and their reputation?
Probably, there was, there's always politics in all businesses, and I'm sure, boxing is the same. But sometimes you have to, know how to play the politics, and I don't know that they really ever learned how to. It's a shame because the history of HBO boxing has been so great, but I thought it was run like absolutely shit for a pretty long time, and that's really, really unfortunate because I grew up on a great HBO boxing product.
Yeah. Wait. Well, that's right. We think we.
And then another one of those genius decision makers was, they actually tried me out before Showtime did. HBO had a chance to hire me before Showtime did. And they tried me out, and they did not hire me. In 2009. So So, that was one of along the same lines of the genius decision making that they had, the genius decision makers that they had over there. That slowly but surely disintegrated the product that was once great.
Just one last question, just from me personally. You were with DiBella, and then you kind of, I know you at the time when you were younger, you didn't have quite nice things to say about Al Heyman. What was it that made you kind of move over and sign for Al Heyman?
Well, first I went to Golden Boy, then to Al Heyman, but
Yeah.
you have to kind of look out for what's best. You have to. Your boxing career is a very small window. And nobody's going to be as loyal to you as you are going to be to yourself. Everybody's always going to be loyal to themselves as well, including the promoter. They will always be loyal to themselves first before they're loyal to you. So, if them being loyal to themselves doesn't include you and their best plans, then it's time to move on. And sometimes you have a good relationship for a little bit, and sometimes you don't. Sometimes you have a good relationship for a little bit, but then it ends, and you have to move on. Sometimes you have a great relationship the whole time. Sometimes you don't have a great relationship ever. It happens. But you have to look out for yourself, because they will look out for themselves, and your window's a lot smaller than theirs. A promoter can work for decades upon decades. A fighter cannot.
Right, well, that's brilliant, Paulie. Well, we got a lot of covered in a short amount of time there, but I really appreciate you coming on and giving me a call, and I'm sure you're happy to finally call onto an Irish podcast or media without having to talk about anything MMA related, if you know what I mean.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But at least people get to see obviously the boxing side of everything with you. But unlike what a lot of people know, that you actually know a lot about the sport of boxing and have had a great career in it. But I really appreciate your time, and I really hope to be speaking to you soon. Okay.
Absolutely, mate. We'll talk soon. Cheers.
All right. Thank you very much. Okay. So that was Paulie the Magic Man Malignaggi on Boxing Bants. So yes, as I said before many times, hit the subscribe button in YouTube below in the video. Also on SoundCloud now. Hopefully we're getting over to iTunes very, very soon. Please keep up to date with all the subscribing videos that are up every single week. And remember to get all your up-to-date news across UK, Irish and American boxing. Please don't hesitate to call across to us on Facebook, Instagram and follow us, okay? Thanks very much. Thank you for listening to Boxing Bants.